machine age. Most of our work is done with machines. We have machines at home, in school, in the farm, in factories, and in many other places. To most people, a machine usually means a complicated device with many moving parts. Some machines may be very complicated, such as airplanes, computers, motorcycles, and many others. But some machines are very simple, like the hammer, the spoon, the screwdriver, the pulley, the pliers, and others. The former are classified as compound machines, while the latter are classified as simple machines. Why do you think are they called as such? Do you have any idea? Very good. Machines may differ in appearance, in size, shape, or complexity. All machines, however, are alike in one way. Every machine can make work easier. There are many things we cannot do without the help of the machines. Am I right? Can you, for instance, open a can of sardines with only your bare hands? No? You need a can opener. Can you name other things, even simple ones, that we cannot do using tools or machines? What tools or machines do you use to do these things? Anybody? How machines help us to do work? Using a can opener shows us one way by which machines help us to do work. A can opener, in this case, multiplies our force or increase the force we need to open a tin can. Therefore, in this case, machines that help us to multiply or increase the force we need are called force multipliers. Another way by which machines can make work easier is by multiplying speed or distance. For example, you can move faster and farther with a bicycle than you can do by walking or running. Machines that help us in this manner are called distance multipliers. What other machines do you think are distance multipliers? Can you name? Before we continue, let us summarize what machines can do. First, machines can multiply force. Second, it increases distances. Third, it changes the directions of the force. Can you repeat them? Very good. Are you familiar with this picture? Yes, you're right. These are Egyptians building pyramids around 5,000 years ago. There were no cranes or big machines that time. But how did they do it? We know that they carried huge blocks of stones long distances by putting them on rollers and pulling them along. But how did they do it? They used levers. We will going to watch now a video presentation on how levers work.
Exploring. We're looking for insects. We know that some insects make their homes under rocks, so we're trying to turn over a couple of these rocks to see what we can find. But they're really big and heavy, and we can't get either of them turned over. There has to be something we can do. Great idea, Squeaks! A few weeks ago, we used a tool called a ramp to help us do work. A ramp, which looks a lot like a slide, is one kind of simple machine. Like all machines, a simple machine is just something that makes work easier. That ramp sure helped us move those books into the house. And there's another simple machine that we can use to help us turn over those rocks. This one is called a lever. A lever basically looks like this, a long bar that's balanced on something underneath. And that something is called a fulcrum. By pushing down on one end of the lever, the fulcrum makes the other end go up, just like a seesaw at the playground. It's just a long bar that's balanced on a fulcrum. Levers make work easier by helping us lift things that would be too heavy to lift on our own. If Squeaks hops on the low end of the seesaw and I push down on the high end, the lever moves on the fulcrum and and I can lift Squeaks up. It's a lot easier for me to lift Squeaks this way than if I tried to just pick him up. Our simple machine made my job easier. So let's use a lever to see if it can help us lift up these rocks. All right, we'll put one end of the lever under the edge of this first rock. Next, we'll use this smaller rock as our fulcrum and put it under the middle of the lever. Now we can push on the high end of the lever and the rock goes up. Look, we did it, but it was still kind of hard. I wonder if there's something we can do to make the job even easier. Let's try something a little different for the second rock. This time, we'll put the fulcrum closer to the rock we want to lift. Let's set up our lever, give the high end a good push down, and bingo! That was a lot easier. For levers like this one, the closer the fulcrum is to the thing you want to lift, the easier it is to lift it. And that's what makes a lever a kind of simple machine. Even though it's super simple, a lever helps us do work. Levers are everywhere, and they sometimes don't look much like a seesaw, or even like the lever we use to lift our rocks. For example, did you know that when you use a wheelbarrow to carry something, you're using a kind of lever? It's true. The wheel of the wheelbarrow acts as the fulcrum, and instead of pushing down on the handles, you pull them up to lift what's inside. We use levers to open bottles too, and to dig in our gardens, and even to eat our food. We'll be back soon with more simple machines, but in the meantime, Squeaks and I have some insects to find.
See here carefully. The boy winding his wristwatch. What did you observe here? The boy applies force at a fixed point on the rigid body, and the same force causes a turning effect about that fixed point. This force is nothing but moment of a force. So, we can define it as a force which is applied on a rigid body, fixed at a point, that produces a turning effect and is called moment of a force or torque.
Let us apply this moment of force on this door for better understanding.
When we push the door at its outermost edge, that is at the handle, the door rotates about the hinge. In performing this act, we applied a force at a distance perpendicular from the hinge of the door. Watch what happens when we try to push the door at a shorter distance from the hinge. We have to apply more force to close the door. So, when we move closer to the hinge, we have to apply greater force to close the door.
We can observe 4 things from the activity that we did above.
To produce a rotation about a fixed point, the body needs to be rigid. The body should be free to move about a fixed point. The point of application is far away from the fixed point. The force applied is perpendicular to the line joining the fixed point and the point of application of the force. We can also define the moment of a force as the product of the magnitude of the force and the perpendicular distance from the point of application of the force to the fixed point in the body. Mathematically, we can say moment of force is equal to force multiplied by the perpendicular distance, or M is equal to F multiplied by D. The unit of moment of a force under SI system is Newton meter or Nm, and under CGS system is dyne centimeter.
Remember, moments is a vector quantity. Now, let us see the principle of moments.
For a rigid body in equilibrium under the action of forces in a plane, the sum of the clockwise, that is negative moments, about any point is equal to the sum of anti-clockwise, that is positive moments. We can also define the principle of moments as the algebraic sum of the moments of forces about any point in that plane to be equal to 0. Take a metric scale, 2 loops of thread, a wedge, a hanger weight, and a spring balance. Support the meter scale with its center on a wedge. On one side of the scale, attach a loop of thread and suspend the hanger weight. On the other side, attach another loop of thread and attach a spring balance. Pull the spring balance to bring the scale to horizontal position. Spring balance reading shows the weight required at that point to counterbalance the weight on the other side. Note the values. Distance of the hanger weight from the center, S1 is equal to 20 centimeters. Distance of the spring balance from the center, S2, is 40 centimeters. Hanger weight on the side left, that is anti-clockwise positive movement, is equal to W1, which is equal to 100 grams. Spring balance reading on the other side, that is the right side, clockwise negative moment, that is W2, is equal to 50 grams. Take a meter scale. Suspend it from a stand by means of a loop of thread, its center. Suspend the body, whose weight is to be found out, by means of a loop of thread on the side of the meter scale. Take a known hanger weight and suspend it on the other side of the meter scale. Now, by adjusting the distance on either side, bring the scale to horizontal position. Note the lengths according to the principle of moments. Effort into effort arm is equal to load into load arm. That is, capital W1 multiplied by D1 is equal to capital W2 multiplied by D2. We know W1, D1 and D2. We can find out W2 using the equation W2 is equal to W1 multiplied by D1 whole divided by D2.
Next, let me show you an application of the principle of moments.
This technique was used in the steelyards in Roman times. The steelyard is a balance with unequal arms and a fixed fulcrum. It consists of a beam pivoted on a knife edge and a slider that moves along a calibrated bar. The beam remains horizontal when no load is placed on the pan and the rider is at O. When a load is kept on the pan, the rider is moved till the beam becomes horizontal. The position of the rider on the bar is the distance from the fulcrum. The weight is calculated by taking the moments of weight to be measured and the rider about the fulcrum. S multiplied by CO is equal to W multiplied by CG, where S is the weight of the rider, CO is the distance of the fulcrum from the rider, and O is the zero reading on the scale. W is the weight of the beam, and CG is the distance of the center of gravity of the beam to the fulcrum. If load L is attached to the pan and rider S is placed at position X to balance the weight by the principle of moments, we get L multiplied by CA is equal to S multiplied by OX, or L is equal to S multiplied by OX divided by CA. Thus, L is proportional to the distance of S from O. The scale marked on that bar enables the weight of the object to be read off directly.
Things are getting better with simple machines. This is Remy Chantenko. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.